Hello and welcome. It is that time once again. It's the end of the month and it's time to go over what the hell I bought this month and why I bought that. So, as usual, I'm going to start what I usually try to do and start with the ones that are like smaller stacks and everything. Let's go into what happened this month with things. It was a whirlwind of just stuff that happened. I have one original DS game and I usually avoid buying loose cartridges. Like, I just try to not pay that much attention to them. But when you have the chance to grab one, I did want Mario Hoops 3-on-3 for a while now. Oddly, you may or may not know this, people. This one is developed by Square. It's very weird to think of a Square developed Mario game that's not Mario RPG. But as a result, it actually has like Final Fantasy characters in there, like Moogles and Cactuar and stuff. So, yeah, I got one DS game. I don't buy much for original DS anymore, but there you go. And speaking of DS, I don't buy much anymore of 3DS either. But here's two games that I got this month. This one wasn't too expensive. It's not actually even the Plus edition, but this is Ace Combat Assault Horizon Legacy, which, being on the 3DS, I thought was really interesting about it. I'm not great at like flight sim games like Ace Combat and stuff, but for a couple bucks I grabbed that, and hopefully it was worth that. And at the very least, I should have gotten the Plus version, but whatever. And the other being Mario Party the Top 100. If you follow me on Culture Shock and the site, I've already reviewed this because it's something I would have had really, really high hopes for, and I didn't actually buy at launch because I heard it was so disappointing, and it really is, and it hurts me, and whatever, it was so easy to do this right, and NDQ probably doesn't deserve to make Mario Party games anymore. And if you want to find out more about that, and look up Culture Shocked with a K, and read my review of Mario Party Top 100 and why it hurts me. Keeping with the portable stuff, I also bought two Vita games this month. One is a very, very me purchase, and one is a absolutely not me purchase at all, but curiosity got the better of me on it. The me purchase is this actually Japanese version of the Super Monkey Ball that came out. I believe it's called Banana Splitz. Monkey Ball has not had a great 10 years or so, I want to say. Starting with the Wii ones and then wherever it's been. Even like Super Monkey Ball Adventure. Like there's been some rough patches. So hopefully this Vita version, which probably can do it justice, hopefully it's pretty decent. The other, which is not me at all, is I actually pulled the trigger and bought Persona 4 Golden. I was just looking it up the other day because I really did want to buy more Vita games. And it was one thing to know that everyone loves Persona 5 last year. Everyone wanted it to be Game of the Year. And it's not only is it a JRPG, it is a very clear, man, this is too much for me of a JRPG, and I don't think I'm gonna like it. But on GameFAQs, this is like the third, Persona 4 Golden specifically, is like the third highest rated game on the entire site. It has a 4.6 out of 5. It has unprecedentedly high reviews. And I said, okay, you know what? If I play this, and I give it 8 hours, which seems to be like the minimum that you can give this game of like 100 plus hours of content or more. If I play this for long enough and I don't like it, I don't like JRPGs, period. That's pretty much just going to be it. I think that'll be clear enough. So that'll just be like the confirmation that that's not my type of game. A couple more, two Dreamcast games here. It's cool. I like buying Dreamcast games, and there's never stuff to buy. The first one, there's actually another game that relates to this later. Some people might already know what that is, but this is Trickstyle, published by Acclaim, made by Criterion. Criterion, of course, from Burnout and the other game. This is kind of like a futuristic, skateboarding game, but because it's on a different system, I'm not going to talk about it yet. It's alright. It's good enough. So it's cheap, though, so if you find it, pick it up. The other game, this is Sonic Shuffle, the total rip-off Mario Party game that came out for the Dreamcast, and I have this because, surprisingly enough, GameStop, this is one of those games that GameStop has priced at like less than half of its kind of going rate. So keep your eye open if you're like in those small, very, very small retro sections of GameStop, because I would have not paid more than $20 for this game based on what I've seen of it. But it was like $10, I think. So yeah, keep your eye open for that, and I'm definitely going to hang on to that, given the price that I paid. In the other jewel cases, I have three kind of cheap games. Not too exciting. The one exciting one here, in a way, is Speedball 2100, which you'll notice is made by Empire Interactive, which is basically a shovelware company, published by Take-Two, which at the time was a shovelware company. The reason this interests me is because it's the sequel to a game that I have on the Genesis, and I haven't given it enough time yet. But some people might remember Speedball and Speedball Brutal Deluxe on like Amiga stuff, and that game is really, really cool, and it's the kind of like futuristic sports game that I'm really, really into. So it's basically shovelware, but it's shovelware that has to do with a game that I'm kind of interested in. And then the other two, this is kind of kick off a theme that I had this month of kind of wanting more hockey games, and just I've been playing hockey games. I've been playing the Hockey Quest, as I've called it on this channel, kind of working my way through chronologically and pretty much being all set with what I have for like pre-disc based stuff. And then these two are from a series that I hadn't had, series that I hadn't had any games for. This is when Fox actually made a bunch of games, and it had pretty decent ratings on GameFAQs too. I was really impressed with it. NHL Championship 2000 with Mike Modano here on the front, so that's pretty cool. Be interesting if that game turns out to be good. And then for the NHL FaceOff series, which was Sony's PS1 and early PS2 run at competing with EA, and I think had John LeClair on it at least 2 years in a row. This is the one that had, like I said, the highest ratings on GameFAQs. This series seemed to be really, really up and down too, but this is the one that actually got to the point of having decent reviews. So if I try one face-off game on the PS1, I figured I'd make it that one. You know, just kind of tidy you up a little bit. Alright, now, looks like I have like 5 PSP games, but I don't. I have 2. So I have another hockey game, Gretzky NHL. I have 06 on PS2. 06 is the one that I actually had when I had a PSP originally. I played the hell out of that game. But now I have that one on PS2. I figured I'd grab this one on PSP. I found out there's only one NHL Series EA game that was released for the PSP. It's NHL 07, and now that game is actually kind of rare as far as sports games go. So it's very expensive by comparison to these, which are basically bargain bin games. And Buzz the Master Quiz, which is funny because I always kind of wanted to play the Buzz games, but you always had to buy all the stuff to go with it, and I was like, man, I don't think, when I was a kid, I wouldn't have been able to get anybody to buy it for me, and now I'm just like, yeah, that's a lot of commitment to a game that probably nobody's going to play, because now we have games like Jackbox, so you can use your phone and, not have a bunch of extra peripherals. So Buzz Master Quiz is just the one. It's cheap and playable on your PSP entirely, so go with that one. I do have 2 Switch games this month. This year, I already have like 5 or 6 Switch games pre-ordered coming up this year. I'm really, really excited for those games. But for right now, I have 2 kind of, let's say, budget price games here. SnipperClips finally got its physical release here. It's like $30, I think, brand new. And I bought this even though I'm probably not going to play it, because I'm not really going to have that many people who are interested in playing it with me. But it's a Nintendo first-party game, and it looks so adorable and so cool and so innovative. I really had to have it. And this one I just grabbed today, and I found out this game actually really, really interests me. It's it's just a 3D platform. It's a very not too fancy, not too exciting, like as far as trying new things. But it's a 3D platform with an emphasis of exploration. It's called Poi, P-O-I. This is the Explorer Edition, which has like a couple of costumes and stuff. And the more I look at it, and the more I look at the ratings it has online and everything, it's got really good ratings. And because of that, this game goes from looking like total shovelware. I think this is a GameStop exclusive too, because I just got it at GameStop. Excuse me, it's like $20. So it being $20, marked down from its usual $30, and you can't get it that cheap online or anything like that. So I think if you in GameStop, grab this for your Switch. I'm actually really excited to play it. I'm gonna start it up soon. But it just looks like the most unassuming like game I've seen in a long time, and because it has good ratings, it doesn't look like shovelware. It looks like a good game, because it keeps reiterating. It's kind of like it's a classic. It's it's a friendly, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I'm excited about that. 2 Wii U games. I really only have one more game on my Wii U list to pick up, because I got these two. That last game being Terraria, which I don't have yet, but I did go way out of my way to find an Angry Birds Trilogy for the Wii U, which is the same day I bought SnipperClips. I was like, oh, God damn it, give it to me. And Amazing Spider-Man 1. The thing about Amazing Spider-Man 1, and this kind of applies to a lot of games that I have for the Wii U, and I'm like, no, I have to have it on the Wii U, even though it's like cheap and easy to find, and more typical to just get it on another system. This one specifically is they call it Ultimate Edition, with all the DLC and stuff on the disc, and this is the only version that they have that on the physical disc. So the Wii U version of this physical is actually the best version, as far as what content it has. So important note there. That's sort of the go from there. Why do you buy these games on the Wii U? Well, this one specifically, I have a concrete reason. The other ones are just, it's the Wii U. 3 things that I only have one thing for. For original Xbox, this is actually a game that I printed the cover for because I'd never seen any copies of it in person before, and I'd wanted it for a long time. It's Dreamfall: The Longest Journey. And this is sort of my thing of liking to buy games that probably play better on PC and come out a lot for PC games, and then a handful of them come out on consoles, and whether or not they play better, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But this is one of them. And there's a new PS4 one that I'm actually kind of looking into. I think it might not be a North America physical release, but anyway. One GameCube game, not too exciting, NFL 2K3. I just like 2K games. Just kind of, yeah, what the hell. I'll grab 2K3. One thing about these that I do like is this is when they had ESPN, the ESPN license to do all the presentation, which when you go back to it, I think they do it in some of the... There's one sports series that has ESPN right now, or did in the last couple of years. But it's really, really impressive how, ESPN, the presentation must have been a really big deal back then. And it kind of still is, because we still don't have it. It's not like it's a standard thing. The other thing that I noticed about the 2K football games that I do really like, I wasn't playing this one. I was playing ESPN football, the one with Warren Sapp on it. And I noticed that when I was calling plays on defense, and what happens with me with football games, whether it's Madden, whether it's any non-arcade style football game, I really don't know. I'm not too sure of myself playing defense, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I have to follow you have to follow 3 or 4 sets of defenders, linemen, linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties, and you have to pick one play that they're all doing the thing that you want them to do. And I don't know where to go to get that way. But one thing that the 2K games did differently, and I don't know if they had started by this point, but they let you pick, at the very least, they let you pick from lineman packages so that you get to pick the way that the linemen approach their rush on every play and do that separately from all the other stuff that's going on. And I thought that was really cool and a little bit helpful to me that I can have that option of not having to worry about them while I'm picking the rest of the play. And then one Wii game. This is, again, why I don't buy Wii games, just to fill out the collection, because I will find them. I got Mario Kart Wii. And when you're out thrifting and at, your savers and shit, and you find Mario Kart Wii, hell yeah. And that's why I won't buy Mario Super Sluggers yet, because I'll find it at some point. I will. Let us start on the PlayStations, the rest of the PlayStations. Starting with PS2, and then we'll do 3 and 4, and then finish up with Xbox. Another hockey game. This is a FaceOff one, of course. They didn't do FaceOff 2002, and then this would be the last FaceOff they did. And this has somebody, of course, that I really like on it. He's a Avalanche player. It has Rob Blake on it. Being the Avalanche fan secondary to the Bruins, it's cool when they have Avalanche players on, especially because around this time, Avalanche were pretty dominant, and there was a good chance that they were going to be on the covers. It's another hockey game. This being not a hockey game, this is Drakan, the Ancient Skates, which is a cool, dragon flying and also sword fighting adventure game that looks pretty cool and supposed to be pretty good, that I found after kind of having my eye on it for a while. So I'm really glad I found that. Very excited about that if I ever play it, because I have so much PS2. And then finally, we've gotten around to the game that I was talking about before with Trickstyle. This is the pseudo-sequel to Trickstyle on the PS2 called Airblade. This one kind of takes the sort of futuristic skateboarding, airboarding, whatever the hell you want to call it, and then puts it on a really, really close to Jet Set Radio style, futuristic dystopian government storyline, which sounds insane. And I remember playing this so much as a kid, and the toughest thing about this in Trickstyle is going to be jumping back into it and not wanting to do Tony Hawk, because I did this when I hadn't really learned Tony Hawk yet, so these are kind of both equally prevalent in my mind. That's not the case anymore. So, same thing with Evolution Skateboarding, which is a solid game that I can't get adjusted to. And Skate, even Skate, I can't do it. At least not as well. And then these are going to be, these are funny things, with the whole sort of obsession that I got over having all these hockey games and playing all the hockey games and just making sure that I have them because they're not expensive, they're going to be cheap and everything. I chose to do this, and I ended up having a lot of fun doing it, which is, don't you ever want your hockey games and any sports game that you just have on your shelf, don't you just want them to have the covers that you would make for it? And that's kind of what I did. I did them really quick and dirty versions of them. But I have here and a couple more custom-made covers that I did for these sports games. So this will be fun to show off. So I made one for I'll show off for 2004 and 2005. Basically, just putting players or scenes or things that I wanted to see on them. So 2004 and 2005. 04, most people remember being the one with Michael Vick on it. Obviously, gross. Whether I turned it around, it's still gross to think of it. And 2004 was kind of from my recollection and other people's recollections that I found, 2004 is a big year of offense, crazy, high-flying offense, because, Michael Vick kind of set the tone, and that's the way it was. And then 2005 followed up with a bigger emphasis on defense, and I've seen the back of the cover even says Fear the D on it, which is kind of weird. But as a response to that, I made these two covers here. For 2004, I have Randy Moss, who's one of my favorite players, infamously mooning the crowd at Lambeau, or fake mooning the crowd at Lambeau, which Joe Buck, the worst football commentator of all time, called a disgusting act and hated, and I think that's hilarious. So I have Randy Moss mooning the crowd at Lambeau on 2004. On 2005, I have one of the greatest Patriots of all time, Troy Brown. Troy Brown might not be that exciting of a player exclusively as a wide receiver, but for those of you who don't know and don't really follow Patriots football, especially about 10 years ago when people didn't hate them as much, Troy Brown is one of the most exciting players I've ever seen because he, at this point in his career, played all 3 phases of the game at various points in the game. So he was a wide receiver. He also took a lot of time in the mid to late 2000s on the Patriots playing cornerback, and he was a great special teams player, which is so awesome to me. So having someone who did take his offensive role and then push it into a major defensive role kind of embodies the focus on defense that 2005 is about. For some, how many games did I put in here? These are doubles. Yeah, 2005 and 2006 Tiger Woods games, obviously. So some Happy Gilmore scenes here. And here are NHL 2002, which would be the game that came out the year following Ray Bourque in his Stanley Cup win with the Avalanche, which is why I like the Avalanche. So what better picture could I have put right there? And then I have in here NHL 2000 and NHL 06. So nothing really dating back to the point that Cam Neely would be playing, but of course I did have to put in Cam Neely as Seabass in Dumb and Dumber. My middle name is Cameron, named after Cam Neely, and my first name is named after Derek Sanderson. And then just a big collage of Jaromir Jagr on the front and the back, who just the other day, actually, it's unfortunate to hear, but he got released. I think he was just straight up released by the Flames, and is going to go back over to Europe and play some European hockey again. So, kind of a bummer to not have Jaromir Jagr around anymore. You're really surprised, you're really impressed with him. The exact reason that I like him so much, playing so long at such a high level. I think Jaromir Jagr is incredible. So, and leading into that, so I have NHL 2K10 here. I think the last one of these games that came out on like PS3 and 360 when they tried to really compete. 2K11, I think, was only really on consoles for the PS2. Not PS2. 2K10 was last for PS2 as well. 2K11 came out on the Wii. I know that. But here we have Ovechkin on it. I didn't make any kind of cover for this one. At this point, 2K is definitely falling behind EA, who's really picking up steam, even though they were always solid. So really, the appeal of 2K games to me at any point is the fact that they have like these party modes in them. Which even says, I think they knew that too, because it says "is party now." So just like the extra like goofy fun modes, which are not going to be as good gameplay wise as the NHL games, but they're going to be there. And then one more fake. Well, there's one more after this, but NHL 09, which I do have the real cover for this, but NHL 09 featuring Michael Scott, fresh off of checking Toby Flenderson into the boards. I think I tried so hard to find this a shot of this, and I think what they did was they had shot another spot of that scene from the episode where they go to the skating rink, and done it specifically for the Olympics because he's not wearing this jersey. I think that was a commercial that they did, but that's perfect. And of course, I have the quote from Wayne Gretzky from Michael Scott. Naturally. Next game, I have a good amount of PS3 games this month. They're not too exciting. They're kind of oddball games, but they're in there. I have Dynasty Warriors Strikefoce, which Dynasty Warriors I've probably mentioned a couple times talking about Hyrule Warriors. I'm not super into, but this one seems like it would be cool because they kind of blended it with Monster Hunter, which is another series that I'm not really interested in. But when you're talking about like the enemies being like these big, crazy boss battle beast kind of stuff, a little bit more interesting to me. So I got that. I already have this on PS2, but given that it's gotten a lot cheaper lately, I figured why not grab TNA Impact for the PS3 and hope that one of the two versions will be somewhat playable. As I've probably said before, talking about TNA, whatever time I got it, or maybe I haven't had the chance to say it, but this is from the time that I was really into TNA as a kid, and it has all the people that I want to be and want to see in it. It has Kurt Angle, who now works for WWE as the GM of Raw. It has Samoa Joe, who is now on Raw. It has Sting, who ended his career working for WWE. It has AJ Styles, who now is the WWE champion and deserves every bit of that. And it has Booker T, who until last Monday was the color commentator on Raw. And who's on the back here? Christian Cage, who made a special appearance at Raw 25. We have Suicide, who I believe is actually, I think I have this right, is TJP, TJ Perkins, who works for WWE. Holy shit, man. I think I see Petey Williams on the back here, but whatever. You get my point. These people all went to or went back to WWE, for better or worse. Poor Impact. Yakuza Dead Souls. I did have the chance to kind of start playing Yakuza Kiwami, the remake for the PS4, and I picked this one up for myself. I actually grabbed Yakuza 3 and 4 from my friend Mike, who was looking to complete his set. He already had this, and I wanted to try this one, which is just... It has zombies in it. I might be a little bit more interested in it, even though I know that the other game's supposed to be better. Just a cool thing for me. Nothing too special. I grabbed God of War 3 to go with Ascension, so now I actually have the games in the God of War series. And how about that the new one coming out? That's going to be... I keep getting excited about it every time I think about it, but I forget about it for such long periods of time. I have two more... Guitar Hero games that I didn't have. Van Halen and Band Hero, I pretty much had this thing where if I can get them on the PS2, I will, but these are kind of uncommon for PS2, and they're dirt cheap for PS3, so I figured I'd grab the two of them. This Van Halen one, actually somebody put it in a case, because it came in a one of those cardboard sleeves, and I don't mind that at all. You know, they weren't expensive at all. One thing about Van Halen, too, I didn't have it before, not because I don't like Van Halen. I actually do love Van Halen. They have some of the best songs that I've downloaded for Rock Band for guitar. But I always thought that Guitar Hero Van Halen, you could see it as being kind of lazy because it was almost like the band had no real input on the songs that went in there, which is why you ended up with, like, The Offspring in a Van Halen game. And I'm like, that doesn't seem like it jives. And I found out when I was looking it up that the reason that there are all these weird bands in there is because they naturally left the set list decision up to Wolfgang Van Halen, who's Eddie Van Halen's son, and is like 28 years old and would have been like my age now at the time when this game came out. So it kind of makes sense that, like, yeah, the people who have been in this industry for 40 years now didn't have as much of a decision. They didn't really care about the set list, and they let the kid do it. So that's kind of funny to me. I don't hate the songs. I love The Offspring, but I just thought it was so unusual. Oh. My tax returns got accepted. One more, well, there's three more here. But next one up is Haze, which is a massive flop of a first-person shooter. Maybe it's third-person, I don't even know. The thing about Haze is I didn't buy it for a long time, but I felt obligated to get it eventually because it is made by Free Radical, who did Time Splitters, and this is a much different tone-wise, much different quality-wise game. I just felt like I have to have some sort of allegiance to Free Radical and give this game a try. Same as last month I bought Fuse, which is not great from what I've heard, but it is Insomniac, and I have this allegiance. I got a Red Faction Armageddon last month. Red Faction games are pretty cool, but this is the first one, the first Xbox 360 PS3 one. It's Red Faction Guerrilla. Pretty cool shooters with a cool revolutionary theme. And then this also looks like shovelware, and it might be for all I care. But Dark Sector, an action game published by D3, which is that company that I never know how to feel about. Because they've done some really good stuff, and they've done some really, really bad stuff. And this I don't really know that much about. So Dark Sector, go figure. Capping off PlayStation stuff, we got 4 PS4 titles. First, I had a hell of a time actually getting this one, because I had my eye on it for a long time. Didn't want to pay the full $40 for it when it came out. because I didn't know how much time I was going to spend on it. But it's also that kind of game that's going to get pricey later on. It's because I can't imagine that many people actually buying it. So I waited until it was like around just under $20 and grabbed one off of Amazon and had my first bad experience ever buying stuff off of Amazon Prime, because the people who sold it, I don't know if it was a mistake, whatever, it's not a big deal. It only had the soundtrack disc in it. It was listed as like new, and I don't really, as long as it has the case and the things it's supposed to come with, you know, I'm not going to make a big fuss about condition, but it did not look like new, so sent that back, no big deal, and then because of that, ended up spending another $4 because I was like, well, now I really want it. So, rating 5, and it's supposed to be fantastic. As you can see, it's got the soundtrack disc. Like I said, I got it only came with the soundtrack disc, not the game disc, so that I had no reason to keep it. This sort of like shovelware looking game, you know, I have to keep trying these games from Sedesco. I keep buying them, and even for the budget price games, I don't even play the Sedesco ones for whatever reason. They seem to be the one that I feel least inclined to, just on average. But Pharaonic is sort of like an action RPG. I just like the first of all, it was really cheap. It's down to like $8 at GameStop, which weird, but this also has a soundtrack actually. So that's cool. And yeah, just getting these sort of like kind of collector's editions and kind of, you know, the stuff that I'm really into, which is these budget price titles that wouldn't have got physical releases 6-7 years ago on 360 or PS3. I did get just last week I got WWE 2K17. It got cheap enough. I have this thing with the WWE games that I would buy WWE 2K18 for the Switch if they fix the damn game, but I've seen it, I've heard about it, it's an unplayable mess, and I would pay like $30, $40 for it if it wasn't. 2K17 I had no interest in for a long time because, just as they did this year, there's no showcase mode in it. I don't have the knowledge that there's a certain mode that I'm going to spend maybe 8 to 10 hours on and get that much time out of it. But I did end up wanting to play it once it got cheap enough, and this past week, because I wanted to do a mock Royal Rumble. I did. It was cool. It was fun. I was used to the engine playing WWE 13 and 2K16, and Goldust won. So, that didn't happen in real life. I did not control Goldust. I controlled Baron Corbin and lost. I was the last one eliminated. Yeah, Goldust won the Royal Rumble. And finally, this is really cool. This is What Remains of Edith Finch that got printed recently by IM8-Bit, who usually doesn't do games. They usually do soundtracks, final soundtracks. But this is supposed to be a fantastic story-based game that came out for the PS4 last year on digital, and I got really, really excited. I paid for it immediately when I heard about it and had the chance to. So hopefully I'll start this game soon. It's supposed to be an excellent story game. And we'll kind of end off with another sort of like weird bunch of 360 games here. Let's go right into the hockey games. I did end up getting a bunch of NHL ones because when I started thinking, oh, I want to get some NHL games, I realized I had no NHL games for 360, so I ended up with 07, which is the first year they did the skill stick, from what I understand. We got 09 for the PS3, was the first BO Pro mode. NHL 11, which is, I think, yeah, the first time they did Ultimate Team, not that you can really do as much with it as you would be able to. 12, which I just remember playing a lot. I think this is the first year they had the Winter, yes, should be the first year they had the Winter Classic. A Loose 13 featuring, this is a little bit early for it, but featuring the Beard Brothers from the SI Naked Body issue, whatever the hell they called it, because they're just fantastic. I love Joe Thornton. I love Brent Burns. And even though they didn't really have that until about 2 years ago, I was like, that's the closest I'm going to get. And NHL 14, which I played the hell out of on PS3, because I bought it when it came out. It does have NHL 94 Anniversary Mode, but Not as good as the '06 version on PS2, which is actually NHL 94. This is just kind of a ultra simplified and having blue ice. And then they did make a lot of improvements to Be a Pro mode. I remember playing that. Some more hockey games. And some other oddball things for 360. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, which I heard is terrible. It's a Resident Evil game and it's a shooter, and I'll give it a try. This stealth action game about vampires called Dark, which is supposed to be terrible. But I have this feeling that these games published by Calypso, these sort of, budget-friendly titles that they came out with, these are probably going to be worth money in the future. And the fact that it is about vampires, I was like, you know what? I'm going to damn vampire game for $3, whatever the hell it was. Another game I heard isn't great, but also is a little bit more interesting to me than actually the main series games. Escape Dead Island, which is sort of a comic book style adventure mystery game with a lot of zombies in it. So that might be cool. It might be terrible. Mercenaries 2: World in Flames, which was a really early 360 title. It might be on PS3 as well. But Mercenaries is cool. Pandemic is awesome. The Mercenaries games are fun. Anything that Pandemic did, whether it be this, Battlefront Originals, Saboteur, really, Destroy All Humans. They knew what they were doing, and they did it well and a lot. Payday 2. I just recently got this. I had always been interested in it, but it is a focus on online cooperative play, which is not my thing. And apparently if you do the AI, it's not as good. So even though it's coming to the Switch soon, I'm not really interested in playing it to its full potential. I really just want to give a try to this sort of cool bank heist stuff that you can do, even if the AI is not 100% prepared for that. Complete trash, but it was cheap trash. It's trash. It's awful. You can Ghost Ride the Whip. It's Pimp My Ride. And finally, pretty cool looking game from Sega. And just like I bought stuff because it's about vampires, I'll buy stuff because it's got zombies in it, stuff like that. I will definitely buy a game that is about Vikings. And I have somewhat high hopes for it. It wasn't expensive, and definitely it's got a shiny cover too. It's pretty cool. And that's it. I did not really end on the most overwhelming note with a bunch of hockey games and some bargain bin trash for the 360, but yeah, there's a lot of shit here. Here's some Switch games. Got some stuff that was very unlike me. But that's it. Bye. I'll be back later for some N64 stream with Iggy's Wrecking Balls, which would be a lot of fun. Alright, now seriously, bye.